The rest of your party lies dead, their semi-frozen corpses bleeding into the ice as wintry death approaches. Soon you too will join them as well.
Come with us as we present 6 impossible creatures of the cold.
That's how we roll. 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 That's how we roll.
Welcome to the Goblins Corner. My name is Eric.
And I'm Matt.
And tonight,
We're talking about creatures of the cold.
that's right. Tonight we bring to you 6 monsters of icy death for you to use in your campaign. And I must say, these are pretty awesome things we've come up with this week.
Yeah, I like some of these.
Yeah. We've done a lot of episodes on environment work in the past, and one of the episodes we had was, I believe, the Taiga Forest.
Yes.
And we kind of offhandedly created a couple of monsters on the fly. For example, the scythe-humped camel, I believe?
Yes, because I had just discovered the huge Arctic camels from the Pleistocene era in the Yukon.
Yeah. And so we thought it'd be kind of fun, particularly since it's becoming winter, at least in North America, to present some icy creatures for you to use in your game.
Sure. And if you're from the Southern Hemisphere, then maybe dwelling a little bit on some cold will chill you out a little bit.
That's right. But before we get to all of that, if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Help us get our show out to more people and get notified when more amazing episodes come your way.
And hey, if you're listening to the show, drop us a review on iTunes, Podchaser, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's cold. Drop it somehow.
Just-
Tell people about the show. It's a good thing. All right, let's get started. Again, 6 creatures of the cold. And the first we have, ironically, is one which isn't actually a cold-based creature, Matt.
I mean, it kind of is.
It kind of is, yeah. And I love the irony of this, and we'll get to that in a second. Tell us a bit about the Blaze Wight.
All right. This frozen, shambling corpse is surrounded by an aura of invisible flame, discernible only as wavering of heat off of the body. Its arms are open in a welcoming embrace as it stumbles forward.
Okay, so a heat-shimmering creature, what, like an alcohol fire type heat shimmer?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about for the image is like, you know how you can only see an alcohol fire if it's basically like pitch black and even then you can barely see it?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking
I
of.
love that. Cool. All right, so we've got this undead that I'm assuming is forming some sort of heat. What are its special abilities?
It has, the undead suite of abilities.
Yeah, so it's can't be poisoned, can't be...
Charmed.
Yeah,
etc.
charmed. You don't want to charm a undead.
It is immune to both fire and cold.
Handy.
It is vulnerable to radiant.
Mm-hmm.
It has a burning aura, 120-foot radius.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Tell me about this burning aura.
Denied the gift of warmth, Blaze Wights ironically seek to give this gift, air quotes for those listening, of warmth to others. At its furthest, the burning aura melts all snow and ice, while as the Blaze Wight gets closer to its prey, the effect becomes stronger.
Okay.
At 60 feet, it is 1d6 points of fire damage per round.
That's hot.
It's 2d6 within 30 feet.
That's very, very hot.
Those closest to the undead feel intense heat like a living bonfire, which is 2d10 points of fire damage per round for those within 5 feet.
Okay, so that's, I think, exactly what it is to stand in a bonfire in D&D.
Yes. This aura creates no illumination, although the objects and creatures which catch fire will.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if you catch fire,
your clothes are going to ignite, you're going to ignite, your hair is going to ignite.
sure.
So I kind of see it as this following scenario. You're at your campsite, it's dark, the fire's gone out, it's snowing heavily, there's a nice, covering on the ground, and then all of a sudden you feel the ice begin to melt.
And it's raining instead of snowing.
Yes. And then all of a sudden it starts steaming.
Yeah.
No more raining in the area, and you this creature crests the hill and you see just this black corpse, and then all of a sudden the tents catch fire.
Sure.
And then you catch fire. And then you're in for a world of pain.
Sure. It's bad times.
That's bad times indeed. Cool. Speaking of which, let's talk about combat. What happens when this thing attacks?
It has multi-attack. It either uses 2 weapon attacks, which are burning half-melted swords,
Yeah.
or 2 slam attacks. Either way, it's 2d10 fire and 1d8 bludgeoning damage.
That sucks for that slam attack.
Yeah, that's not
fun at
happy.
all. What's the ecology on a Blaze Wight?
Naturally, basically, the ecology is none. Blaze whites are a product of a cruel god of winter and take no part of the natural order.
Yeah. That's what it is, right?
Right.
Got any lore on this thing?
Sure. Despondent humanoids that freeze to death after having lost all hope may occasionally rise as blaze whites, seeking to share this newfound warmth with the living.
This is perfect for any type of Arctic or taiga forest adventure.
Mm-hmm.
This is great if you happen to have a deity of the frost, or if you're playing Forgotten Realms. What is it, Auril?
Mm-hmm.
The Frost Maiden?
Yep. Also good for winter in Barovia.
Oh, yeah. This has got a great Barovia vibe to it. I love everything about this. What a delight.
Next up, why don't you tell us about the Drift Trapper?
Okay, here's the description. The ranger slides down a deep snowbank, his eyes fixated on the horizon. Suddenly, the snowbank sprouts two massive clawed arms and a circular, sphinctered mouth, grabs the ranger, and promptly eats him.
I hate it when that happens.
I hate it when the snowbank just grabs you and stuffs you in its mouth.
All right. What are the special abilities of this thing?
All right, so as you might have guessed, it would be a grappling type creature, so it has the grappling special ability.
Sure.
It also has a false appearance snowbank.
Okay, so false appearance like a mimic.
Yes, very much so like a mimic. While a drift trapper remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from an ordinary snowbank.
Nice. Very nice.
Which is great, again, if you're in some kind of cold climate.
Yeah, any place where it's snowing heavily.
It's going to let you walk on it, because then it can grab you and eat you.
Yep. Tell us about combat, although obviously I've got some ideas how this is going to go.
Drift trappers are deadly ambush predators. So they have a couple of different types of things. First off, they've got a multi-attack of 2 claws and a bite. So they claw, bite.
Sure.
The claws do 2d8 slashing and 1d6 cold with a 15-foot reach.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're going to reach out, grab you.
Nice.
Abracadabra. If the drift trapper hits with both claw attacks, the target is grappled.
Sure it is.
Because why not?
Yeah.
It's got a bite of 2d10 piercing and 1d6 cold. And if that weren't enough, it can also swallow you whole.
Fantastic.
So if the creature's grappled, on the next round, or taking a standard action, the drift trapper can use its action to swallow the target. Those swallowed take 2d10 bludgeoning and 3d6 cold damage per round within the belly of the drift trapper.
Oh, that sucks. So they actually feed off of warmth, not so much nutrients.
They just feed off of anything, really.
Okay.
They're a magical monstrosity.
Gotcha. Speaking of this magical monstrosity, what's the ecology of this thing?
Drift trappers live in family groups of up to 2 to 8 individuals.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so you're not just going to cross one snowbank. You might cross a whole colony of them, and then you're in for a world of hurt. What's the wizard going to do now?
Fireball.
Yeah, well, yes. That's exactly what's going to happen.
In this particular case, that is actually the correct answer.
Yeah, fireball works. As ambush predators, they will erupt from cover as soon as the prey is engaged by any member of the group. So if one starts attacking, they all dogpile in, right? When children come of age, they either live with the family group or choose to move on to start their own family group.
I do think if we were feeling like awful human beings, we could also give them pack tactics.
Oh, if we were truly bastards, yes. That would just be even worse.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sure. Well, just add it on the list if your players piss you off.
DMs, if you feel like you really need to up the ante, do that. You can even give them maybe, I don't know, telepathy so they can communicate and coordinate their actions.
Sure.
Whatever floats your boat, right?
Yep. What's the lore behind these guys?
Many sages believe the drift trapper is an offshoot of a mimic, albeit one which is adapted to life in the snowy wilderness.
Sure.
Some suggest other forms of drift trappers could occur, such as those mimicking large icicles or perhaps, say, icebergs. Now, can you imagine, because you know you can,
right?
You're running from a polar bear.
Mm-hmm.
You're on an ice sheet, and it starts to break up into the smaller icebergs. You jump on one.
Sure.
And then it grabs you and stuffs you in its mouth.
Yeah, because you know it's going to grab up and just slam you
100%. Yeah, because most of the body is underwater.
Mm-hmm. Bad times.
Bad times indeed, my friend. Speaking of bad times, Matt, we've got another creature of the cold, and this time you have a titanic bird.
Yes.
Talk to us about the Hoar Frost Owl.
All right. First, I'm going to specify it is HOAR for those playing the home game. The description is thus. As you trudge across the tundra, you see a titanic owl backlit against the full moon in the night sky. A blizzard falls from its wings, coating everything in icy death.
Yes. Now, if that isn't an omen for death, nothing else is. I love this. Talk to me about its special abilities, Matt.
All right. Clearly, it's immune to cold.
It should be, if it's sprouting icy death from its wings.
It is also immune to bludgeoning damage. I like to think that's because it's literally coated in snow.
Like hail and stuff is just erupting from its body.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has dark vision 120 feet, keen sight, which is advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on sight.
Sure.
Also has the ability called Squall Bringer.
Squall Bringer, huh?
Yes.
All right.
A Hoar Frost Owl is continuously surrounded by a screeching blizzard, which provides the following environmental effects. All weather within 5 miles are 1 step more severe, and all conditions within 500 feet are 2 steps more severe as per control weather.
All right. So not good in the beginning, but it's like the description, right? It's making a blizzard.
Sure. And the closer you are, the more blizzardy
Worse
it gets.
Yeah, it gets much more blizzardy.
Blinding snow and wind surround the Hoar Frost Owl within a 30-foot radius. All those within the radius take 2d6 cold and 2d6 bludgeoning damage each round with no save.
Because they're getting beat to death with snow and ice.
Yeah, and you've decided to approach this thing.
Sure.
That was your decision.
Yeah.
Additionally, creatures must spend 2 foot of movement for every 1 foot when moving closer to the owl because of the wind.
Right.
And must succeed on a strength score DC 18 each round or be blown 15 feet off of their feet and away from the Hoar Frost Owl.
Now that sucks.
And being blown off your feet means prone. Just obviously.
Yeah, so you're trying to like walk into a snowstorm.
Yes.
And you see this big ass owl. You're a wizard, Harry. And it just blows you off your feet. And then I'm assuming it, talons you to death or something like that.
Sure. Or it just sits still and waits for you to try again.
Yeah, because, you're taking bludgeoning and frost damage anyway.
Yep.
That sucks. Speaking of which, what actual damage does this thing do aside from its aura?
Well, in combat, those who engage in battle with the Hoar Frost Owl are in for a fight. First off, it has multi-attack with 1 beak attack and 2 talons.
Ooh, that's nasty.
The beak does 48 piercing damage.
Nasty.
The talons do 4d6 slashing damage, and on a hit, the target is grappled.
Double nasty.
Also, it has Ice Reaver. All of the Hoar Frost Owl's melee attacks do 3d6 cold damage as well.
So it's doing slashing and piercing and cold the whole time. That makes sense. It's a blizzard owl.
In addition, if the Hoar Frost Owl hits a creature with 2 or more attacks in 1 round, the target must make a DC 18 Constitution save or be stunned, basically shrouded in ice.
Okay, so literally it's being covered in hoarfrost.
Yes.
And it's just stunned from the ice being turned into a popsicle.
Yep.
I love that.
If the owl hits with all 3 attacks, the target must make a DC 18 dexterity saving throw or be blinded by snow for a round.
So that's 2 saves every time it hits with 3 attacks.
Yes.
That sucks.
It's bad times.
Well, this is obviously a majestic, epic level beast.
Yes. It is Titanic, in
Yes.
fact. Also, because why stop there?
Sure.
Frost feathers. Whenever a Hoar Frost Owl is struck in melee, the attacker takes 2d6 cold damage and must make 2 saving throws as if struck by Ice Reaver.
So when I strike this thing, it's like it hit me with 3 attacks.
Yes.
That really sucks.
Yeah. It's not good times.
So you know what you need to do? You need
Bow.
You need to fireball.
Fireball.
Yeah, the answer to most of these creatures is fireball.
Well, they are ice creatures. It only makes sense.
Yeah. What's the ecology of this gigantic owl?
These owls prey on any Arctic or tundra creature smaller than itself, which is basically everything.
Yeah, because they're gargantuan.
Right. So you're talking anything like polar bears, seals, elk, even monstrous prey such as young white dragons or remoras. Basically everything that isn't an ancient white dragon.
Yeah, dire moose, wolverines, deer, Santa Claus. It all can be food for this thing.
It is unclear whether or not the Hoar Frost Owls prefer to live in the coldest regions of the world, or if their very nature makes the environment the coldest region of the world.
Kind of a chicken the egg type
Exactly.
scenario there.
Like, is it the coldest regions because these creatures live there, or do they live there because they're the coldest regions?
I kind of like both.
Yeah.
This would be a really interesting scenario where maybe a Hoar Frost Owl moves further south, or maybe it lives like on top of a mountain, and that mountain is just encased in ice and snow, whereas like maybe the rest of them are temperate.
Sure.
That would be kind of cool too.
Absolutely. If you did a world where all natural phenomenon are mythical, like the reason that mountains are snow-capped are because of these guys.
They're personifications of maybe the environment.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I like that. Yeah, throw a Thunderbird in there as well.
Sure.
What's the lore behind the Hoar Frost Owl, Matt?
These owls are believed to be the embodiment of winter. They're featured prominently in many Arctic cultures. However, some scholars believe that these magnificent creatures are the naturally occurring opposites of phoenixes.
That makes perfect sense.
Sure.
Yeah, you got some phoenixes living in some volcanoes, or maybe a magma-filled caldera.
Sure.
Which we still have never gotten around to actually doing a terrain series on volcanoes yet.
Not yet. Well, it's on the burner.
That's going to be a Christmas or birthday gift for me.
All right. We could do that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So that's a Hoar Frost Owl, huh?
Yes.
Delightful. Speaking of other delightful things, we have what, Matt?
It's time for the question of the week.
All right. What kind of question of the week do we have this week?
This week is an Eric-suggested question.
That's right.
If you could have a steed to ride in the cold, what would it be and why?
So I already know what my answer is, so I'm going to let you go first this time and tell me your answer.
All right. I'm actually going to throw back to the Taiga Forest episode because I love the idea of the large, dire Arctic bunnies with like the leather padding.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, 100%. I'm for that.
That's riding in style with a big-ass Arctic bunny.
Yeah, and let's say there's anything in your way, a river, whatever, we're jumping it. We're jumping
Totally
it.
hopping, and they're fuzzy.
Wow. Yeah.
You know that's going to be riding in comfort.
Yeah, and when it's time to camp for the night, you just snuggle in. You know that's a warm fuzzy.
Mm-hmm. And if situations are dire, that bunny makes good eating.
And a lot of good eating.
Because you got to think it's probably the size of a horse. At least in my head it is.
Oh, I was thinking slightly larger, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because, bunnies are kind of broad built, whereas horses are kind of single file. I was just like...
Fat-ass rabbit right there, man.
Yeah, it's a floppy bunny.
Yeah, it's a big flop. You can definitely hear Thumper coming from a mile away.
It's like the giant German bunnies, if you haven't seen those.
No.
Yeah, it's in my head, it's definitely going to be like a big version of one of those.
I love that. That's great.
What is your preferred mount?
So I was thinking of something along the lines of a giant purple penguin, and I have no idea why
It's purple.
It's purple, but
Just
in
is.
my head it's purple. So imagine this very large horse-sized penguin sliding along the ground on its belly, and you're on the back just kind of riding like a sled as it goes
Sure.
along. And you know what? It could totally swim.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun, right?
It's going to be a cold swim, but other than that, yeah, it's
look,
good.
hey, look, if you're riding a purple penguin, you better have a means to survive that cold because you know you're in for it.
Sure. If you don't realize it's coming, it's really your own fault at that point.
But you're riding a giant purple penguin. How boss is that? You know some ice gnomes would totally ride those.
Absolutely. I was also thinking that like an emperor penguin, right? Like so that it's got like little color pops on it. And
Oh, yeah, it's got the little, little
yeah,
phalange
the
thing?
frill,
the
yeah.
frill? Absolutely.
It's majestic.
Majestic purple penguin that you can ride. Yeah, that's my answer for that. Of course, we're always interested in your answers to the question of the week, and if you have one, hit us up at Goblin's Corner on Twitter or all the various social media channels that are out there.
You can also comment down below. Now, please understand, you don't need to have stats for these critters. Just make one up and tell us what it is, or if you have a favorite creature in the cold, let us know.
Let us know. So we're talking creatures of the cold, and we've already been through 3 delightful creatures of the cold. We have 3 more, and the next one up is one of my creations. This is a fey creature, which it sounds not too bad until you really start looking into it, and then it's just...
You just listen a little more carefully.
It's bastardly.
Now, I do think it's funny that you actually came up with the fey creature this go around.
Yeah, because
Normally
usually...
that's my department.
Yeah, it's usually your thing is the fey lore.
So what is the description of these Gust Pixies?
This tiny flying creature looks like a caricature of a naked humanoid with its oversized head and large, bulbous cheeks. And in my head, I'm thinking of like the Baroque or neoclassical pictures of, like the angels.
The four winds.
Yeah,
and
the four winds,
yeah.
stuff like that. With an evil grin, he huffs, puffs, and blows out your campfire, leaving you at the mercy of the dark and the cold, frozen wastes.
That's rude.
It's kind of
Yeah. So I see. What are its special abilities?
magic and cold resistance,
Sure.
greater invisibility at will,
Yeah.
just
Pixie.
like a pixie,
Right.
fire extinguishing at will.
Like you do.
Like you
when
do.
you're a little.
Gust Pixies can extinguish any heat-producing fuel source at 120 feet, pretty much at will.
That's suboptimal.
You don't get a fire, and you don't get a fire, and you don't get a fire either. Oh, you got that candle? Nah, it's gone. Look at that.
Not even a candle, my man.
In addition to that, they have spells, like most pixies do,
Sure.
and these have been somewhat changed from the standard issue pixie to kind of encompass the malicious nature of this beast.
Right. So what do we got?
All of these are once per day, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We have frostbite.
Sure.
We have silent image to appear to make an area safe, perhaps.
Or lots of silent image is useful for so
For
much.
everything.
Yeah.
Ice knife.
Sure.
Suggestion, like take off your clothes, go run off into the woods. Die of frostbite. Dispel magic. Bestow curse, charm monster, and hallucinatory terrain.
Nice. That's not awful at all.
Not at all.
That's
And
not
Fiendish,
terrible suite of powers.
and you could tell, like Fiendish DMs are just kind of rubbing their hands together, going, "Yes, I'm going to throw this thing at my next players."
Tell me about combat with these little guys.
These hateful fae prefer their victims to succumb to the elements, but are not above hastening the demise of hardier adventurers. Gust Pixies generally lead with the flame-extinguishing ability to dampen any heat and light, and then proceed to disable the most powerful with spells, before wading into combat with a short sword or a short bow, usually covered in something like alchemical frost or poison. Yep. Because if you're going to be a bastard,
Yeah, then go all the way with it.
go all the way, right? They're tiny creatures anyway, so
It's only doing 1 point of damage with that tiny little.
you're at a campfire, maybe you're surviving the Arctic North, your campfire goes out, you're like, damn it, you try to light it again, it goes out again.
The match that you're lighting in with goes out.
Yeah, then the paladin gets hit with an ice knife and he explodes in cold.
Sure.
The bard all of a sudden gets charmed, strips off his clothes, runs off.
Oh, see, I feel like you missed an opportunity there where the paladin gets suggested to go for a swim.
Oh, into the the frozen waters?
Yeah.
Sure.
In his armor so that he can drown. These things have to have some sort of ecology, I guess. What are we working with?
Gust Pixies live in the coldest parts of the Feywild, the elemental plane of air, and the paraelemental plane of ice,
Makes sense.
wherever it's really cold. Occasionally, they are summoned to the prime by cruel sorcerers, planar rifts, and the whims of the unseelie court.
Do they have any lore that makes them more than just little bastards?
Yes. Gust Pixies tend to lair in snowy mountains, watching the world below for the telltale signs of light and warmth to begin their callous onslaught.
Sure.
So they're going to sit up on top like the Grinch.
Just waiting for somebody to light a
all
fire.
the who's of Whoville, I will extinguish all of their fires. They occasionally work for frost-loving archfey as a means of forcing mortals into warlock pacts that are most agreeable to the Fey.
Sure. If you're about to die of frost and you call out to basically anything to save you, and, the Queen of Ice rolls up and she's like,
Let me make you a deal. Meanwhile, you're trying to strike a match and this little bastard's blowing everything out.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the Gust Pixie.
Fantastic.
Next up, we have a Paraelemental. And this, by the way, is one which I recall existed at some point in time.
Yes.
In some form or another.
Yes. Traditionally, it only applied to the classical 4 elementals.
And so we've adapted it to a Paraelemental, which is ice. So talk to us about the Ice Grue, Matt. What's the description of this thing?
A patch of black ice that, when approached, rises to take the form of a lightless black polar bear.
Yeah, that's not nightmare-inducing at all.
That's what we're here for.
What kind of special abilities does an Ice Grue have?
As an ice grue being at home in the ice, it can attack at any time and from any direction. It gets ice glide.
Mm-hmm. So it could just fly up out of the ice at any point in time.
Yes. Perfect dark vision. So basically, as far as you can see during the day, that's how far it can see at night.
That's awful.
Also, it gets devil sight, so you cannot magically darken around it either.
So it's going to see you, and it's going to come out of the
Regardless.
ice at any point in time.
Yes.
Okay, that kind of sucks. What is engaging with an ice grue like?
Those who fight an ice grue must deal with both the cold of nature and the cold of the grave.
Oh, because it's a grue, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
They've got multi-attack, which is 2 slam attacks that either deal 2d8 negative damage
Mm-hmm.
or 2d8 cold damage.
That really sucks. Now, it looks like a polar bear, and I would also give it maybe a bite attack.
That would be absolutely fair. And you could also, like, depending on how you choose to scale this creature, give it some slashing and piercing damage to go with that, since it's using claws and teeth.
Flavored according to maybe the animal style that it takes a form of.
Right. There's no reason to make it just a polar bear. It could be,
An ice grue kraken.
yeah,
Can you imagine you're on...
just this black iceberg comes raising out of the water.
Wow, yeah, it's like
Tentacles.
Cthulhu rising,
Yeah.
and it just beats you to death with these 8 flailing, dark, black ice tentacles. The paladin just gets smushed into canned sardines.
Sure.
It just flattens, just all of the ice just begins to crack, and you go to a watery grave.
Yep. Bad days every day.
Yeah, that sucks, man. What kind of ecology does this thing have?
These creatures are planar anomalies and therefore have no place in the natural order.
Yeah.
Right. They're
They exist on the Paraelemental plane of ice,
right.
or the Shadowfell.
Sure.
What kind of lore do we have for this thing, speaking of which?
There are places in the multiverse where planes drift near or even crash against each other. Where the Shadowfell meets the elemental and paraelemental planes, some of those primordial creatures that live there take on the taint from the dark place that is the Shadowfell. These creatures are known as Grue. So like you could have a fire elemental Grue, and obviously we're talking about creatures of the cold, so we're talking about an ice elemental Grue.
Just a nasty elemental.
Yep.
You're in a cave going after that white dragon,
Nice.
and out of the shadows pops the ice grue, looks like a patch of black ice.
Ooh, a white shadow dragon with a pack of Grue.
That would suck. That would be no. That would not suck. That would be awesome.
That's an awesome setup, though.
That is a boss battle if there ever was one.
Yeah, that would be great. Now we're going to take a brighter, more comedic turn. Why don't you tell me about the Neapolitan cow?
We've come to the last animal of the evening of Creatures of the Cold, and here's the Neapolitan cow. And yes, it is exactly what you think about. Here's the description. You come across a large, tricolored cow in an icy field. The cow has white fur near the front of its body, brown fur in the center, and pink fur at the rear and the tail. A chill radiates from the animal as it chews the frozen landscape.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Neapolitan cow.
Yeah, that sounds like that's what that is.
This is, by the way, I totally want one of these as a pet.
Sure.
This thing is awesome.
What are its special abilities?
It has an aura of refrigeration,
Mm-hmm.
so specifically at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius.
Sure.
It's a 10-foot radius around the cow. It also has frozen plant consumption. The cow gains nutrition from any frozen vegetation as well as ice or frozen water.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. And has flavored teats.
Of course it does.
Neapolitan cows have 6 teats, unlike the usual 4 in a normal cow, which produce ice cream in 3 flavors, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry.
Right, because it's a Neapolitan cow.
Yeah, 2 for each, right?
Yeah.
So 2 vanilla, 2 chocolate, 2 strawberry teats.
So what is combat like for a Neapolitan cow?
As per cow.
Okay.
It's a cow.
Yeah.
So Neapolitan cows are unusually non-aggressive, even the bulls. However, should the cow get into combat, just add 1d6 frost damage to the standard cow attack.
Nice. So 1d6 to the gore, 1d6 to the trample.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure.
Neapolitan cows are vulnerable to fire and take an extra 1d6 damage from any fire-based attack because they make ice cream.
Right.
And ice cream melts.
Sure. What's the ecology behind these wonderful critters?
Neapolitan cows can live quite well in any frozen environment, as well as most temperate regions with mild summers. The ability to digest both ice and all known vegetation make them very hardy animals, and many northern cultures place a high price on the animals because
Makes
they can
sense.
live anywhere.
Sure. You cattle drive them. right? You move them up north during the summer, and then as the seasons change, you can drive them further south.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the lore behind these?
Neapolitan cows originated from normal milk cows that were subjected to unusual magical energy from the paraelemental plane of ice and potentially the paraelemental plane of cream.
Sure.
Their unusual aura of refrigeration makes them a very useful addition to any village, and the fact that they produce 3 flavors of ice cream is always a delight.
Yeah.
Kids love it.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine you're a merchant? Gnomes own these things. You know it. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
There's a gnome merchant. The 2 cows are pulling his wagon of curiosities and stuff, and he's milking the Neapolitan cow, and he just serves ice cream to people, fresh
Sure.
from the teat.
Now, see, I would have these at a bar,
Oh.
and the end of the bar would just be a metal sheet, which is the back wall of their paddock.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just providing a cold metal sheet. They're a refrigerator, is what they are.
10-foot
serving
radius.
cold. Yeah.
You imagine you could store anything. Just keep the cow in a stable. You've got a cold shelter.
Yeah.
Store all kinds of meats and all kinds of other stuff.
Yep. It's perfect.
Very useful animals. So there you have it. 6 creatures of the cold for you to use in your next campaign to amaze, terrify, or delight your players.
Fair.
I love them. These are great animals. Again, I want Neapolitan ice cream now.
Or spumoni.
Spumoni.
That's the really rare Neapolitan cow.
Yeah. Any questions or comments, hit us up at Goblin's Corner on Twitter and all of the various socials. Did you enjoy this podcast? We're scooping up a couple more episodes soon. Subscribe to it on your favorite player, YouTube and Twitch.
You can also click the 5 stars and give us a review on iTunes and Podchaser. And on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. It gets our show in front of more people, and it feeds the hungry algorithm.
Which is currently ambling towards you with a bell on its neck, mooing softly, and squirting ice cream from its various teats.
Sure.
Why not?
Sounds great.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Once again, my name is Eric.
And I'm Matt.
We'll see you next time.
Good night, folks.
The Goblin's Corner has been written and produced by Eric Holden and Matt Staples.
Music by D20.
This is a Subterranean production.